Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Dr. Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
It is, Doc, and it's a pleasure, Pastor Jackson, to be a part of, I think, a great television show that is really doing a great job and having impact in the community in which we serve.
I have to agree with you. We've had so many guests and so much information disseminated over these airwaves, and we've got a great guest on today.
Yeah, we got the super lawyer, the super lawyer. Tremendous personality, tremendous business ethics. Attorney Nathaniel Lee is going to be with us.
And certainly he's one of our sponsors as well, which we appreciate that. And people should also listen to his Saturday show. I think it's Legally Speaking.
Legally Speaking.
On Saturdays on Radio 1, AM 1310, 92.7 FM.
And he drops a lot of nuggets in the community to help his listeners navigate through some things that they might be going through.
And he's brought some national colleagues in to help that show too.
Yeah, and I think it's well deserving of the ears of Indianapolis, and I think all of and Marion County need to be involved in listening to that if possible.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to what he has to share with us. Please stay with us. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices, and we're joined by one of our wonderful sponsors, Attorney Nathaniel Lee of Lee, Castle, and Crowley. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Pastor, for having me.
And thank you for being a sponsor. We appreciate it. Lots going on with COVID-19. Talk to us about some of the current litigation surrounding COVID-19.
Well, we are stuck in the pandemic, and as you know, we're getting close to 500,000 Americans who have died because of this dreadful disease. And we have millions each day being infected by the disease, and some, of course, result in permanent medical condition. But in essence, there's multiple types of litigation. In fact, I suspect that this disease process may result in the largest number of lawsuits in the history of America legal system. But there's different types. First, it started off with the nursing home. The nursing homes were inflicting a lot of adverse reaction with patients. There were so many that were dying. And we know that the residents who are stuck inside of the facility, in most cases, early on, didn't have visitors. So the disease process would have been passed along by staff. I've had several calls. And the problem with the nursing home cases is that people have comorbidities. In other words, we talked about this earlier, they have other issues regarding their medical condition. That's why they're in the nursing home. And the biggest problem, of course, is that when they pass, many of the relatives don't request autopsies. So you don't have the evidence to show the medical mistakes or the neglect by the nursing home actually was the legal cause of death. But the second big lawsuit status that started off was cruise ship. The cruise ship just went, it was crazy the number of people that got sick from cruise ship, and they got stuck at sea and stuck at port. So it was all counter litigation because a number of people became ill. The third type, though, which is relevant, is that there are so many businesses by government orders that were shut down. And it's very important. Like in our state, for example, the governor issued certain guidelines, and they shut down restaurants for a while, movie theaters, bars, you name it. They got shut down. Well, most businesses, Pastor, they have what is called BOP insurance, business overhead protection. Your business insurance coverage generally will pay you money if your operation shut down. It could be a 2-day or 5-day or 7-day or 15-day or 30-day, but your insurance coverage should pay compensation. Now, these cases changed over the course of history. Before the Ebola outbreak many years ago, the policy did not have the typical pandemic language. So after that, because the insurance industry thought it was going to be such an adverse economic impact, they put clauses in their policies. So now the BOP, or business overhead protection cases, are going both ways. Sometimes the business owners are winning and sometimes they're losing. But it's a contractual type case, and some that won could like the substantial sums of money because your BOP, or business overhead coverage, could be millions of dollars for some businesses. And, so it's a very important litigation because the government shut down so many businesses and the businesses are suffering significant hardship. And the fourth type of issues involve employment. Employment is important because on the one hand, people at work become ill. If people become ill, if they're off work for more than 7 days, under our state law, diseases are covered under workers' comp. So workers' comp insurance would provide protection in salary and medical expenses for people afflicted at work. Occupational diseases have always been covered since I've practiced law. And I don't know when it started, but it's covered under workers' comp. And a lot of people don't recognize that, but you have to be able to authenticate that you contracted the virus at work. And most of the people that I know that contracted it, they got it from a coworker. And so, and they're able to collect the benefit. But the other type of work-related deals with the termination. That is that some people say, the heck with this, I'm not coming to work. Too many people getting sick and dying. And those are tough cases because, our state is employment at will. Other state may allow it, but it's going to be a hard road to travel in our state. So that's a quick analysis of COVID type litigation. And the cases are going both ways all across the country.
As we look at COVID right now, do you think that the vaccine, and it is possibly having a more greater effect than many are saying it is?
Well, it's very important people understand this. We've had vaccines around for a long time. And what most people don't realize is that each year, some people take the flu vaccine. And I did a jury trial on this issue, that dealt with H1N1, and it was education for me. And here's why this is important. Historically, the way that scientists develop the vaccines is based upon forecasts. There may be 20 flu pathology or pathogen that may be available, or the germ process that may inflict America. But the vaccine will cover the top 3. A lot of people don't realize that. So when they get their flu vaccine, it would only cover the top 3. And so because of that, you receive a certain modicum of protection, but it's not sacrosanct. It's not cover everything. But for the most part, the vaccines are very effective. Now, we've seen something very important, though, about the flu, Pastor. Have you noticed this year, we probably have the fewest number of flu viruses transmitted in the history of our country. If you take away I saw that. COVID-19, and I think it's because we're wearing masks now. And I think that is something that, for future references, I think that what we should do as America, particularly if you travel, it tells us that even after we get past this pandemic, you're probably better off if you're on a plane, train, boat, or otherwise you're in commercial transportation, you probably should wear a mask. I think now, Pastor, what they've done on the airlines, as you know, they've changed the filtration to make it safer, right? But what I've noticed is that this year myself, thank God, I've not caught a cold. I've been wearing a mask. And I was thinking, I said, okay, this mask is something that may be with us forever, because now I see that the mask itself prevents the spread of disease process.
Yeah, I think that The mask does help. We must give the mask credit for reducing a lot of the data that we're getting. It does help.
Very interesting information, Attorney Lee, and we've got to take a short break. And when we come back, we certainly like to know how all of this is affecting the court system. So stay with us. We'll be back with more from attorney, super lawyer, Attorney Nathaniel Lee. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. And again, we're joined by Attorney Nathaniel. Always a pleasure to have you with us. We were talking about how all of this is affecting and impacting the legal system. Of course, your purview is much wider than ours with regard to that. What are you seeing?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, in the history of our court system, we've never seen a disease process or anything that has so adversely impacted our legal system. We are now, typically, for example, I would schedule about 8 jury trials per year. In the last 16 months, I've been in a courtroom twice. It's something that you do 2, 3, 4 times a week, twice. And the reason being is that the number one problem that has ripened into existence is that COVID has decimated the ability to conduct jury trials. In fact, they started one civil jury trial, and after the first day, a jury called in suspected of having COVID, and they had to grant a mistrial. So not only do we have, in our county, we allow one civil jury trial per week, if that. But there are no jury trials currently being conducted. Now, I want you to think about this. Indianapolis is probably 40% of all civil trials in the state. If we're able to do no more than 6 or 8 jury trials in a whole year, it's going to result in a massive backlog, massive. So the ordinary citizen will not be able to get their day in court anytime soon. And then the secondary aspect about that, it actually is increasing the cost of litigation. Why? Because defense lawyers are making a record amount of cash. You know what they're doing? They're doing depositions by Zoom. They're doing paper discovery. They're filing motions. I mean, we get a different motion every day now. In the past, you get a jury trial, you prepare a case for trial, the case go to mediation, gets settled. Now, there are no jury trials hardly being conducted, and so it caused an adverse effect. Now, for the victim, there's a third problem. That is that because they know there are not going to be jury trials, if you got significant injuries and damages, the probability you'll probably get less money now. And that's the sad thing about this pandemic. So the unintended consequences of it is that justice delayed is often justice denied. And so we're seeing victims being victimized by nothing that they caused, but this pandemic has been a hardship to our legal system.
So what, are any firms experiencing the opportunity, not the opportunity, but travesty in losing their firms or losing their lawyer or losing businesses as it relates to being attorneys?
Well, you know, the legal profession last year had the big firm had record profits and income, and reason being, as you know, pastors, the stock market went really high, right? So when they passed the tax bill, rich folks got a lot richer.
Right.
And what we saw is corporation had the largest amount of cash that they ever had before. Now, the reason that's important is that the big firm who represent corporation, I saw what Kirkland Ellis, one of the nation's largest law firm, each of their partners last year in December received a $5 million bonus.
Last year?
Yeah, in 2020, they reported bonuses to their partners of bonuses, not salary, bonus of 5 million. And they were doing mergers and acquisitions and corporate things like that. And so the corporations with this tax cut just have just a lot of money. The other thing that happened is that what most people don't realize, when the pandemic hit last year, people stopped driving, right? And people worked at home. And for the first month and a half, there was like 95% fewer accidents. So insurance company was still collecting premium, started amassing a record amount of cash. So insurance company became flush with cash because of the other issue. The prior president and Congress, they enacted legislation to protect insurance company from COVID exposure. Like, for example, the next item has to do with vaccine, for example. You can't really sue for adverse reactions to vaccine. And I'll get into that later, but the point I'm making is that they've enacted special protections. And so it's much more difficult to sue. So the rich folks have gotten richer. And I think that the lawyers who do consumer-based practices, they're probably not doing as good. I mean, like the lawyers that are doing the criminal cases, divorces and things like that, where they rely on consumers because we have significant high unemployment, we have underemployment. So if their income related to the typical consumers, their revenues are probably down. But their income is tied into corporation, their revenues are probably going to be up.
Wow. So the answer to my question is that there are no firms who are bellying up at this particular point.
Not really, because what has happened, Pastor, there's something else that happened that's kind of unusual. Take the criminal law. In our city, we've seen a proliferation of homicide, right? And each of those folks who committed these crimes, they're hiring lawyers. But these are much higher fees. Used to, you get a battery, somebody get in a fight and beat somebody up. Now they're shooting and killing them. And so we've never experienced such a high increase in homicide before. And so we, in that area of practice, they're hiring lawyers, their fees are substantially higher. And people are finding ways to pay lawyers in those type of cases. The other issue, though, is that we've seen an uptick in things like divorces. And so, people are still working, and professional people are not adversely affected to the same extent as service workers are. Like, if you work, for example, in the technology industry, you're doing great. You're working on your computer, on the internet, and you're working from home. And that is what the case is with a lot of law firms. A lot of attorneys are working from home, Pastor. So despite the fact that we've had this shutdown, we've not seen a decrease in the ability to generate revenue in that regard.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're hoping and praying that things will turn around. Certainly, when this turns around, you all will be very, very busy. But as always, thank you, Attorney Lee, for all that you do for the show and for us personally. We appreciate you. We're out of time and looking forward to the next time we'll have you back.
Well, thank you, Pastor, and have a blessed day. And don't forget, this is Black History Month.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All
You're
right.
welcome. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. We hope you enjoyed Attorney Nathaniel Lee and Curtis. Please share with us our sponsors.
Oh my God, you know what? We couldn't do this show without them, and we appreciate them all. Tamika and Associates Realty Group, Martin University, Marion County Public Health Department, we love them. Lee Castle and Crawley, Owl's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window Gutter Cleaning Service. You know, it's almost time for that. And then also, and I just dropped my phone. I had them all written down. You think I should know them by now. Perfect Care.
It's his place, brother.
Perfect Care Christian Academy.
Yeah.
Of course, my favorite, His Place Eatery. You'll probably see me over there every Friday.
Fish Fridays?
Well, they got some good catfish. You know, check them out.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I want to say this about that is, no pun intended. Throughout the COVID, you know, all our sponsors have been able to navigate through this, and I really am so happy to know that about them. His Place Eatery has a setup over there that they're handling this whole pandemic very well, with its carry-out situation as well as in dining. You know, he has everybody spread out. When you come in, you got to make sure you have your mask on. So they're really following the guidelines very strictly. So, you know, you can feel real safe about going there. So I want to set that out there.
Yeah, and he has always had a great aspect of handling the out. How would you say it? The people, the orders. Yeah,
Carry out service.
The carry out. He's done most of his business was a lot of it was carry out.
Right.
And so we hope that he has not suffered like other businesses have suffered. We don't want anyone to suffer.
Right.
But it's good that he's able to sustain himself. And all of our sponsors are still with us, and we thank God for keeping them in business.
Absolutely.
So we can promote their business for them right here on Real People, Real Voices.
Yeah, Dr. Moore, it is pretty amazing. And with our newest sponsor, Tamiko Realty and Company and Associates, houses are selling. They're doing a tremendous job in the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah, even in the midst of the pandemic. I mean, I guess you go in there and have it sterilized. People will still come in and look at homes, no matter what conditions, because they know they got to have a roof over their head. So we want to thank Tamiko for coming on and sharing her business with the Real People, Real Voices, and the Channel 40 family.
And we'll let that be the last word. You all have a good afternoon. We'll see you next time.